Hey, so this is a little bit different. You see your sheets, okay? So as you have time, don't overthink it, okay? But look at your sheets, and on there's a thing called the wheel of life, okay? I'm not big on some of this stuff, but this is kind of cool. So what you do there is you start at the center point, okay, and then you move to like scale 1 to 10, okay. So 10 being all the way up, right? And you're going to kind of draw a dot or a line or something like that, like where you are personally. How do you feel like you are? If you rate yourself 1 to 10, where do you rate yourself? Okay, you can do that now. You can do it as it comes to you. You can do it towards the end, but just kind of personally do that for me, for yourself, really. And then I put on their priority categories and growth opportunities, right? Yeah. So be thinking about that. So what I wanted to talk about this morning is building a strong foundation. We talked about vision, right? Vision is super huge to me. Vision is something that you have to have because we don't, like I said, we don't live in the past. We don't really live in the present because every second it's the past, right? So we can't overly study where we are today or at this moment or even in the season of our life right now because it's constantly in the past. It's constantly past. So if we over focus right now at our present situation, you accept the reality of where that's at, okay? But you can't sit there. Does that make sense? You can't. You're sitting idle, okay? You've got to be looking what's ahead. You got to be visionaries. I think a believer should be a visionary. Now, what does that mean? Well, so a visionary, you don't have anxiety and you don't have worry because those things are the things that, for men especially, those are the things that really get in us. It does me. Maybe you don't struggle with that. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with worry. I struggle with depression. Now, are you saying so? Ryan, are you in that present season right now? You just went unemployed for 4 months. So are you saying that those three things are the things that you were in? No, I'm absolutely not saying that. But I'm hyper aware of those are three things that I could find myself into, right? So, but the future, I'm not worried about like what the job is. Now there is some, obviously, there's not an infinite waterfall of income, money. So at some point you got to be like, you got to be like, all right, you can't be just here's the words, right? You got to be doers as well. So, but what we think about is that we think about the future, and what that is, that's where hope and faith comes in, okay? And not anxiety and depression and fear and all those other things. So you got to be a visionary. So the vision is, where do you want to be? As we talked about last week, you have your old self and you have your new self. You have your Saul and you have your Paul, right? I have pre-salvation. I have post-salvation, right? You have two different people. I'm a firm believer if you have lived under the bondage of generational lies that you've always been X, or you're going to be this way because of this. I'm a firm believer that once you become a new creation, new is new, right? When I go buy, I had to get a new pair of shoes a week ago. I didn't have to. I really wanted to. Went to do the interviews in Atlanta, and I totally hit them from Lindsay. And she saw them eventually, and but I wouldn't have got those shoes out of the box, right? And they had scuff marks on them. They were white. It would have been. You would if the laces were already tied, a little dirt on that. I'd been like, no, this isn't new. This is used. Like this isn't. So I expect new is new, right? You go buy a new vehicle, it's costs a lot of money. Like you want to get in, you want to smell that new car smell. You know what I'm saying? You want to feel that new. You don't want any miles on it, as least as possible, right? So new is new. So as a new creation, what we have to start doing is we have to start. I know where I want to go, right? I want to be an exceptional father. I want to be an incredible husband. I want to be on just incredible leader, right? I may not be there yet, but that's where I'm laser focused to get to. Now, if I run into somebody in my past, Chris, they're like, guy texted me yesterday, haven't talked to this guy in 15 years. He said, man, I saw your testimony, da-da-da. Man, looks like God's doing a great work in you right now. So I said on that, I said, oh yeah, man, I said, no. He's not doing a great work in me now. His work in me started 30 years ago. You feel me? You're just now seeing it. My testimony is an outward confession. You may have been saved. You may have accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior, right? And that's great. But who knows you did? You see what do you mean? I was fortunate enough to be able to baptize Nazir last week, right? Last Sunday, right? I loved it. It was like, right? That's a big deal. Like, it was a huge deal for him. We met on Friday, we met on Saturday. We talked for 30, 45 minutes. And then we baptized. Like, that is him identifying 37 years as a Catholic from Syria. I said, man, only God could put a redneck from Mississippi and a guy from Syria that just, his parents calls him 3 years ago at 35 years of age and says, you're getting married, you're getting an arranged marriage. And I was like, when we talked the first time, I was like, you're going to have to walk me through that, bro. I said, arranged marriage in Mississippi is because means you're adding a family member and Daddy's got a shotgun and you got one choice. You better say I do, right? And anyways, he thought it funny. He probably didn't know quite as much about the Mississippi culture as he did. But anyway, so but that was huge. So it's like, okay, cool, I've said Christ, but what identification have I outwardly said says, hey, this is who I am, okay? Like the baptism, death, burial, and resurrection, right? Like, why would I not do that? Why would I not do that? Why would I not allow the water to show my old self and bring it to my new? Like, why would I not do that? Why do we hold back from those things? Why? It's a crack in our foundation. It's a weak foundation, right? My challenge to you, I want you to challenge me. I want to challenge you. Like, there's not enough that I can do for my God. You feel me? I didn't do anything to be able to have my marriage fixed, to have my addiction removed, to be forgiven by my wife and my kids, to be able to have a good job, to be able to have the house I have, to be able to have the things that I do, my health, I didn't do anything to be able to have those things. Those things were given to me by Him because of His love. It's unconditional. We're the only ones that sit in this mindset of, I'm not worthy. Nobody loves me. That's the devil. That is 100% the devil. Okay? God don't speak that way. All He says is, come to me, all you that are weary, right? He says, hey, I'll remove that weight from you. You will no longer carry the yoke of slavery. Like, just come to me. So for men, we have a responsibility as a man to step up, to be strong. And you may not be married. You may be married. You may just went through divorce. Okay. But God's not telling you that you're still not worthy to come to Him. Everybody He took in the Bible, none of them were worthy. They were much worse than we were. You start reading about these cats. I mean, they were, y'all, if they were in this room, y'all would be like, yeah, I'm not sitting by that dude. I mean, really? You think about some of the things that they did. So whatever you've done, He forgave. This is what the Scripture shows. He forgave a lot worse people and then used them to carry on the ministry of the Word, the gospel. So if He can do that, what could He do with us? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. When you think about, I've got a little props here. When you think about a career, you think about this, guys. Some of you may have lost a job at some point. Some of you at some point not only lost a job, but you have invested all your everything into this career. I've done it. When we moved here, I was working 80 plus hours. At one time, before we moved here, I owned a business. And then when I had a business, I needed more money. So I started doing outside sales then. I covered Louisiana and Mississippi in the truck. The truck has 200,000 miles on it. The Carter drives now. I traveled in that truck, Louisiana and Mississippi. The amount of time I was working, it was unreal. Okay, but what's funny is God would close doors, but I overcommitted to a job. That's my biggest problem. Is that they'll say work 40 and I'll work 60. Well, all they really wanted me to work was 40. Like my mind tells me I got to grind. Like that's how when I was 15, I was on the sales floor. Like I've always, when I found out the salespeople made commission and my father had a business, oh man. In the warehouse, I was in the warehouse with my other brother, and he was like, I broke a lamp. Accidents. You got tons of stuff in there. He said, come down there and, gave me good scolding. And said, you break another lamp. You're like that. You may need to do this at practice. You break another lamp, you're going to the sales floor. Bro, let me just hear that door click. I found out the salespeople made 3 times the money I made. I was 15. Man, I'm telling you, before the day was over, I was like, right? Shattered that lamp. True story. I was on the sales floor that Saturday. So I was, so I've always had that mentality of I got it, right? I look at somebody else, they have a nice house, they have a nice boat, they go on these lavish vacations, they do all these many things. It's been really hard to train myself to say I don't have to have that. It doesn't fit where I'm at. But my career says if you work harder, you'll get to X. Well, ironically, I've achieved those jobs. The problem with the grass being on the greener on the other side, it was fertilized with manure. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get over there, you're like, So sometimes when we get to that point in our career, it's not what we thought. And I know some of y'all agree with that statement. Like, boy, if I got X. I talked to a guy the other day, he said, man, I have an opportunity to be a VP of a company. I have to move to New York. I said, bro, you don't want to be a VP. He's got an incredible job now. I said, don't do it for the title. Don't do it for LinkedIn. Don't do it to swag with other people or to show off to a previous employer saying, you didn't know what you had, man. I'm a VP. And I said, seriously, like, really? Because I've been there. I couldn't wait. I wanted this job so bad, not this one, another. I wanted it so bad because I was so ready to throw it in somebody's face. Because it's like a breakup, right? I wanted the X to know, oh, I got a 10 now, you were a 5. I mean, it's just my thought process, right? The problem with, and I'll show you this, I brought some stuff here this morning. So, like career, right? Okay? When you look at this career, like everything I have, I'm telling you, everything, I can't sleep at night, right? I quit working out because I've got to get to work early. I'm answering emails, I'm pulling reports late at night. Like, I am so obsessed. I got to grow. I got to add more stores. Oh, that job pays more, that job's bigger, more. I got to get that. Like, that's all live and breathe. And I'm talking up until just a couple years ago. Because what happens is debt gets greater, and because your wants get greater. Right? I got a car this last week. Carter can tell you, I definitely said I was getting something else. Lindsay said, you got to quit hanging out with Brian. Because you asked Carter too, because I was showing vehicles, and Lindsay's like, you're taking a job that's traveling. You do not need a 4-inch lift. And I showed her F-250 with 37s the other night. She was like, you're going to be a sales rep. I was like, yeah, but we were talking about it. She's like, stop. Okay? But here's the thing though, if I make that decision, that's fine. That's my decision, correct? But what happens is what I'm doing is I'm putting more pressure on myself to perform at a higher level on something that is a foundation that I'm building. Does that not make sense? Because I got a Honda Accord. One guy said 2 weeks ago, that looks just like a Mercedes. I said, yeah. Right? Right? Hey, but here's what's funnier, guys. Here's what's funnier. But I needed to process that. I'm telling you, I personally needed to process this. I needed to process this. Why is that? Because I was driving a Maxima. That was my youngest sister's first car. $4,000 car. That's what I've been driving for a couple years. What I'm driving now is much nicer, right? So why don't I just be thrilled that I'm capable and still not working 100 hours, like within my means of what I'm trying. You know what I'm saying? Line up. So this here, what I'm saying is that as much as I try to think about careers and stuff like that, right? So as much as I want to base my identity and everything that I am, right? If I start using this as a foundation, right? I don't think. You see? Oh man, I need to listen to you. Right? But is it stable? Is it stable? No. Right? Right? It's not stable, right? But would you agree that is that not aligned, right? With no? It's not stable. Any way you look at it, it's not stable. It's not stable. I can put all my weight on it. You know, can I build my family on that unstable? I mean, can my foundation be that? You know what I'm saying? Could I have my son, my daughter, could I have them with me on it? I can't even get on it. It's unstable. Anyway, chop it up, it's unstable. So you say, well, what are you saying? We're not care about your career. Oh, you 100% care about your career. Because if you're a man of God, that's your responsibility. So take care of your home. Take care of your home doesn't mean you got to live in something better than somebody else because they got something cool. There's always going to be somebody with more money than you do. You see? There's always going to be somebody with a nicer vehicle than you. There's always going to be somebody. It's just what it is, and that's okay. That's okay. But you can't base that on that because it's unstable. It's unstable. You can't. I told you every interview that I had, I shared about Fight Club. That was. Some people be like, "Oh yeah, I shared it, every one of them." I didn't tell Lindsay until after, like, I got a job. She's like, "You need to like." I get it. I love it. She didn't say this, right? She didn't say this, but I didn't go like I'm an extremist or anything. But they made the mistake of saying, "Oh, it's so cool when you're not with your family and you're not working. What do you do?" And I go, "You asked." And I said, I live a life investing in other men that invest in me. And I talked about it a little bit, but I didn't go into great detail because that's how much it means to me. They needed to hear that because I wanted to see what their facial expressions were. I wanted to see how they felt. And I'm telling you right now, one I didn't even talk to again after. I never mentioned the job because of their reaction after that. Just, I didn't like it. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to like you. I'm just being honest. And I'm not saying they have to be Christians or anything, but like I'm no longer going to stand on something that can no longer hold my weight. Then you think about the other thing, right? Finances. Right? Finances. It's a big deal. Big deal. We got to be secure. We got to take care of our family. I get all that. We're not saying that. These two things are different, right? Finances are different. You got to be able to say no. You got to be able to say no on vehicles and stuff. Here's something else. When your finances, this is money, right? You got to understand when the honeymoon's over. If you're in a relationship, she don't really want you to buy her anything. Like that doesn't get you out of jail, right? I'm a gift giver. You know why? Because I'm a gift receiver. But you know who's not a gift giver? Carter tell you, my wife. She's just not her language at all whatsoever. But see, in the past though, I would when I worked a lot of stuff, I would buy her something. Because that compensates, right? Me never being around. Or me coming home in a bad mood. Or me coming home and taking stuff out on her. Like that makes sense, right? And then I get to throw it in her face. Well, I bought you a brand new vehicle. Well, I bought her a vehicle a month before I lost my job. I was like, oh, crap. I didn't have a payment. I had a payment the last 4 months, right? That's not a big deal. But I would never, again, say, you should just be happy. You should just get over it. You should just do this. You should just do that because this is what I do. I give you this. I give you that. No, that's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But our finances we have to be mindful of because we can overly dedicate our life and stuff to finances. 401s or retirements or stocks, right? Some of y'all are big stock guys, right? I can talk to you and you'll be like, man, I'll tell you where you need to invest. I'll tell you, these right here are doing great. A month later, talk to you and be like, man, market sucks, right? It's just, and that's how it grows, right? That's how it is. But we can't control it. It's uncontrollable, right? But on the same way with finances, we look at this, guys. It's no different. It's a little bit bigger foundation. I'm not, right? But it's not stable either. It can't hold my weight. Before 4 or 5 months ago, I had finally was able to put up a nest egg. Super happy about it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this with this. I finally felt some stability, right? And then I have a phone. Then I have a meeting. Totally took me off guard. And then I don't have a job. So there's two ways I can think about that. I can get upset because the money I had is what took me to right now, right? And say, man, I had that money. I was going to do this with it, mess with this. Or I look at it and say, man, I'm so glad that God disciplined me enough and positioned me enough to be able to put that up. Because had that not happened, you see, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I could get mad, money's gone. I can be like, yeah, but that also got me to point B, right? And that's okay. But we can't stand on something there because it's unstable, right? Economy, everything that goes on, we don't know. We don't know. Inflation, we don't know. We can't stand on that because it's unstable. Today it's unstable. Your third thing here is, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. People. If you've never been let down by somebody, you ain't living. You feel me? The amount of men, the amount of people I hear, I don't do church. I don't do church either. God. But the amount of people that say it because of something that happened in their past, I get it. I'm not going to go into it, but I can tell you plenty of reasons within my family has to do the church gives me plenty of reason not to. You can't put it on a recording. But you're talking about the people. I can't depend on people. Now, does it say, well, I need to be an introvert and I don't need to hang out with Ryan. I don't need to hang out with Chris. I don't need to talk to Mark. I don't need to talk to Mike. I don't need to talk to Ryan. I want to do it because you know what? They're gonna let me down. They're gonna upset me. They're gonna screw me somehow. They're gonna run over me. I'll just right? Yeah, I can do that. But they're human at the end of the day, right? But I also can choose those people better and make sure in the beginning we're on the same foundation and we're speaking the same language in the beginning. Same way with your relationships. Guy called me yesterday, and he started talking about his spouse going off. And I said, bro, yeah, don't get mad at me. I said, but I've been where you are. It ain't nothing to do with her. It's you. What do you mean? I said, dude, you sit there telling me your job's stressing you out. She's becoming the dumping ground for it. So, yes, you're going to point out everything she don't do right. But you could be making her a bad person. I mean, I'm just saying. You could be making her have a hard heart. You could be making her be short, da-da-da. Men, we want food, we want gifts, and we want intimate relationships. And we want it now. When we want it, how we want it. We've got a vision in our mind of how that looks. If you're married long enough, you quit having those visions. Because you're setting up an expectation that's not manageable and it's not realistic. It's okay. It's okay. Because we have to get deeper. Because that goes back to basing your foundation on something that's not stable because it's not realistic. It's not a correct expectation. You may not be married. Okay, so cool. And you want to get married. You want to find that person cool. Then what is your foundation on? What are you building that on? What are you looking for? Does your actions, does your life, the way you do things, does it advertise a person like you're trying to get? Think on that. Does it advertise a person like you're trying to get? How does that do? People are going. It's just what it is. Employees, if you have companies, I've done Bible studies. I've done it all. I very much have gotten let down. I've let people live with us. The kids said the other day our house was a halfway house for a couple of years, and I forgot all about it. But they were like, "Man, we have people living in our house all the time." And I was like, "I guess we did, right?" But people are going to let you down. It's just what it is. I'm not hard about it. I'm not upset about it, right? Because I've let people down. If I take complete ownership, right? But people's not a strong foundation either, correct? Now, I do feel confident the men in this room and the men that God are bringing into this room are people that you have a lot higher chance of basing a foundation of brotherhood and friendship, right? I feel strong about that. Everybody in this room, I would ride or die with you. I mean, y'all. I mean, I couldn't. I would say I couldn't, but it's made tough times in my life in the last couple of years much easier to get through when I'm surrounded by men that love God and that are strong, and we have to be strong. So if you're in a bad season, somebody says, "Well, I can't find," they're in this room. I don't know. I can vouch for here. I can't vouch for everywhere else. But that's what we have to do. But we have to take the step into engaging into men to find people that are wrong. But people, we can't invest in people. And some of y'all, you and I have had these conversations where you've told me your issues and this. I get it. I'm not denying that. But I can probably relate to it. But there's no way I'm stepping on this box, right? This is probably the most unstable one of all three of them. Does that make sense? When the scripture says, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and don't do the things I say? I will show you if someone is like the one that comes to me. Hear my words and act on them. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. When the flood came and the river crashed against the house and couldn't shake it because it was well built. But the one who hears and does not act like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. The river crashed and immediately it collapsed, and the destruction of the house was great." You say, what does this mean? It means when the storm is, I always get tickled. You see people on, like in Florida, they'll have hurricanes all the time, and you'll see these guys that are riding it out, and it's like, I've survived 6 storms, right? House has been demolished every time, right? Or you live in Oklahoma and you decide you want to live in a trailer. Probably not the best decision, right? But it's funny, you'll see a lot of these people, they'll do the same thing over and over, buy another trailer, right? But they know good and well when the storm comes, like it's going to wipe it out, 100%, right? When you're in a current season, the difference between having that foundation, a rock, and versus having it on the sand is a difference when you're going through a hard time in life, whether you are still standing at the end or you collapse with a great fall. Does that make sense? You say, well, that's cool, Ryan. I get you. I'm there. I want you to challenge me. Are you or am I? Because you can't start building it when the storm starts. Y'all builders, do y'all build when it's coming a bad storm? Not until it's in the dry, right? You can't say, all right, guys, this is 70% chance of rain. Y'all get the wood. Let's go out there and get to work, right? Yeah. Do you pour concrete when it's pouring? You better not be pouring concrete when it's pouring down rain, do you? Why would you not do that? Why would you not do that? You can't do it during the storm, can you? Because it messes the foundation up. It will never hold. It will never form, correct? We can't wait until the storm comes to start building the foundation. You got to start building that now, right? This is what like Fight Club and in your Bible and surrounding yourself and not standing on stuff that are unstable, but putting your stuff that is stable. So the last one, thanks to Ogie here. This is a builder right here, baby. I mean, you've got studs. There's so much going on in here, bro. Oh, I asked this guy to build me a box. This dude, and I was going to build one. Now, Mississippi is a doghouse. You feel me? Ain't no dog coming in the house in Mississippi. It don't matter. It don't matter. He's got to get used to not getting fed, and he gets water with a water hose. You know what I'm saying? This would have been a doghouse, 100%, and may be one in the future. So, but this is, you see what I'm saying? This is a foundation, wouldn't you agree? the foundation? Foundation is what? Jesus. Right? That's the foundation. So you think in your life, you think in the stuff, right? Well, let's put this back on here. People, finances, and career. That's on a strong foundation, right? Jesus. Would you worry if I got up here? Right? You wouldn't, would you? Why? Is it stable? Right? It's Jesus. What happens if the career goes? Am I still standing? Strong foundation? Finances? Still standing? Stable? What about people? I will not grow weary. I will not grow faint. I will soar like wings on. Feel me? This is what we're called to do. They can come back on here as they will. But I'm going to stand here. That way, when the things that are uncontrollable, this is controllable. Addiction? You know why I don't have a problem with addiction anymore? It didn't go in the new building. You know why I don't got a problem with lust anymore? It didn't go in the new building. We upgraded. A little bit more modern home now. You know why anger and hate, narcissism, greed, envy, rage, maliciousness didn't go in the new building? You've got to build that foundation. Build that foundation, guys. When those things come to the door, you have a choice to open it, or do like a bill collector. Slap the blinds, go to the ground. You don't have to let it in. It's a new bill. For a new creation of God. You've got to build a foundation. We've got to stand on the foundation of God. Because if you remove everything, this is what stands at the end. Man says, well, how can you get through something? Right here, I'm telling you right here. It says, I will stand. I will stand. I will stand. I will stand firm. Somebody wants to pick a fight with me. Devil wants to pick a fight with me. It's okay. I'm used to it. Difference is I am preparing for that fight year round. I am not waiting 90 days before the fight. I'm not waiting until the fight is in front of me. It is a nonstop discipline, dedication, hard work, laser focused foundation. Because I'm not standing on stuff unstable. I'm standing on the stability of Jesus, the one who died for us. I'm still standing. I'm still standing. That's how you weather. He goes to the military. He goes to school for baseball. Y'all go through sicknesses. You go overcome addictions. You go through a season of unemployment. You want to stand through that stuff? Right here. Not you're in unstable ground. You're a trailer in Oklahoma. Feel me? We have to stand on the foundation. We have to. We're not weak, man. You got a problem with politics and all this stuff on social media stuff? Cool. Don't go in there and be all crazy. Start representing today. What does your home look like? What do you look like when you're going out in public? Man got to start fighting back. We got to start fighting back. You want to fight for your country? Fight for your country. Be the men that God designed us to be. Stand on the foundation of Him. Stand on the foundation of Him. Because in the day, guys, this is what we're going to have. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. Those things don't go with. This does. This is what's left. At the end of the day, this is what's left. Whatever I bring to Him, or I've already brought to Him, that's what's happening here. His son died on the cross for us, so we have this foundation that he says in Matthew, the enemy is our footstool. He will make the enemy our footstool. That's down there. Feel me? I still stand. You still stand. Build the foundation. Invest in others. Multiply. Multiply. Awesome. Thank you, guys. If you will, do the will of life. Do the will of life. Check that out, whatever. Talk about this among your group. Pray it out. Rock out. If you're new, please write your name on the index card so I can collect that from you.